Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. My name is Curtis Smith. Welcome to this Global Entrepreneurship Week event, Global Business Opportunities in Arizona. And before we jump in, I'm going to have Flora Tromlin do a brief introduction to the Global Entrepreneurship Week program, and then I'll take it from there. So Flora, I'm going to turn it over to you, please.
Thank you, Curtis. Good morning, everybody. Good evening for the ones who are joining us from abroad. Global Entrepreneurship Week is a large-scale event campaign celebrated each November in more than 170 countries, with more than 9 million participants and through more than 34,000 events. Global Entrepreneurship Week 2021 will be hosted until November 14. We encourage you to join as many events part of this week. You can find them on Global Entrepreneurship Network website, gen.org website. As we celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week, our state coordinator, Diana White, CEO of Chandler Innovations Incubator, would have liked to be here with us, but with so many events in Arizona this year, she could not make it today. But she has asked me to let you know that she hopes that we will enjoy the event and to take advantage of this week to attend as many events as possible. This said, I give you the mic, Curtis.
Thank you so much, Flora, for doing that. And thank you, everyone who's here today. It's fantastic to see all of you here, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I've got to spend some time with Flora and Kristin and Marco and discussing this topic, and it's been a real treat. I want to begin by doing just a brief introduction to everyone here on the panel today. And I'll start with myself. My name is Curtis Smith, and I work here at Northern Arizona University in the northern part of the state of Arizona in the United States. This is a university of about 23,000 students. And here, my job is I direct an innovation and entrepreneurship center. And that is, I help students come up with ideas and turn those ideas into ventures, into action. Here on the panel today, you just heard from Flora, and I wanted to introduce Flora. She's the founder of FCT Strategies, LLC, and I'll let her talk a little bit more about that later. She is a French native, former US military spouse, a mom, and a travel addict. Her experience includes over 20 years of experience as a global leader and advisor for the US federal government in cross-team, cross-cultural communication and management. She's managed multicultural teams of up to 35 people and managed events of up to 5,000 people. We're very, very glad to have Flora here with us today. Flora, thanks for being here. Next, I want to jump to Kristin Allen. And Kristin and I are friends. Kristin Allen, previously before her current position at Global Ties Arizona, worked at Northern Arizona University. And in that role here at Northern Arizona University, she's the program manager for strategic global initiatives for 3 years. In that role, she directed partnerships with Mexico and Latin America. And we're currently working together, where we were, and she's advising me on a grant that I'm working on, a cross-border grant that we're working on together. Kristin, she's worked in international spaces for nearly 14 years. Her experience spans language teaching abroad, international real estate development, cross-border business foundations and relations, and international higher education. She has a lot more credentials, but I'll let her go into depth as she prefers later on. Next, I want to jump to Marco Costa. Marco is born and raised in Milan, Italy. Marco is an international attorney, knowledgeable of both US and Italian law. He obtained his Italian degree at the University of Pavia, and after practicing several years in Milan, he moved to Arizona in 2009, where he earned his Juris Doctorate at University of Arizona. And he serves on the General Counsel for the Italian Association of Scottsdale. Mr. Costa, or Marco's practice, Gillespie and Shields, they focus on employment and immigration, corporate business law, and he has a lot of experience with businesses, foreign businesses, and the relationships with the United States. And so, as you see, we've assembled a panel, a very cosmopolitan panel of folks from across the spectrum. We have viewpoints from within the United States, with viewpoints from France and from cultural relations types of experience. And we're going to talk about that. And we also have an international look at the legal component, doing business and the legal side of that with the United States. And so that's just an introduction. I'll let you all go into that in more in depth, but I really wanted to kick things off today with kind of the crux, a question that I think will be valuable to everyone is, why Arizona? You know, and I say, why Arizona? Why come to Arizona and do business here? Not just in terms of the business end, but I also want to know why you came to Arizona, your personal story, and then maybe a little bit about why doing business in Arizona might be a good thing. And I want to start that off with Kristin Allen, and then we'll pass it over to Marco after that, and then Flora. Any point in throughout this discussion today, I want people to be able to chime in the chat if you have questions, and we'll have someone taking a look at that chat. And as appropriate, we may field questions throughout, but at the end, know that we will have time for Q&A. So Kristin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Curtis. And I'll just first say thank you for kind of moderating our discussion today. This, a little bit of premise as well. This was a conversation that came together amongst current and former colleagues. And really, I think all four of us today on the line as the speakers really wanted the opportunity for us to come together and also encourage other entrepreneurs that have a global focus here in Arizona to join us, to share their perspectives as well, and then also be able to open up a space for entrepreneurs across the world to learn a little bit more about what Arizona has to offer here. And so thank you everyone on the line for joining us. I love seeing so many familiar faces that hopefully we'll get to chat with you all as well, so you can share your perspective. And I also see some of our former alumni of a program I'll mention later on as well. So thanks so much for being here. I'm going to share my story, I guess, relatively quickly. All of us here as speakers are transplants to Arizona. We have 2 domestic transplants, Curtis and I, and then 2 international transplants, Marco and Flora. And my story really is I was born and raised in Western Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. I grew up on a horse farm, and I never would have imagined that I would end up in the Southwest U.S. Really, what kind of started driving my path was from a very young age of 14 was my passion for Spanish language, which I discovered as a high school student. And I was very fortunate at one point to be able to take my first international trip to Spain as part of my Spanish high school Spanish club. And that kind of set the kind of path for me in terms of where I wanted to go into the future. And so I ended up studying Spanish language and culture, both for undergraduate and graduate school. I spent about 6 years living abroad in Spain, also worked for a bit in Nicaragua, and then have traveled extensively to Mexico and Latin America for other work positions, which Curtis had mentioned earlier. And in terms of why Arizona, Arizona came as a surprise for me. I was fortunate to have the opportunity through work to move to Arizona in 2013. I had just moved back from being abroad for almost 6 years in Spain, and I was in Washington, D.C. at the time. And I began working for a U.S.-Mexico cross-border business and government relations firm. And really, I kind of had the option of either keeping my job and coming to Phoenix or looking for another job. And I have always had a curious mind, and I have always really enjoyed adventure. And so I thought going out to the Southwest US, where I had never been, had been to many places in Europe, but I had never been on the other side of my own country. I decided, why not? Let's give it a shot. And as I said, I was very surprised with how quickly I fell in love with Arizona. the diversity of the terrain, as you can all see in my background here, the natural beauty, the 300 days of sunshine per year does not hurt, especially when you come from the East Coast and are used to the rain and overcast days. The sunshine is very welcome. But it was also the attraction of being able to live in a place where I thought perhaps I would have more exposure to speaking Spanish and being around the language that I love. And so I had a lot of assumptions at the time about what living in Arizona was going to look like, a lot of which were absolutely wrong. And I think that that's something that many of us do, is we have an idea of what a place is going to be like, what it's going to look like, and then the actual experience there is completely different. And I think that's what we're going to get to throughout our talk this morning. But I'll say the main challenge for me, and I think the main challenge for anyone moving to another city, whether it's across the country or it's across the world, is really being able to make the human connections and develop a network that is going to help you settle, grow, and ultimately thrive in the place that you want to be. And it doesn't happen overnight, as everyone here probably already knows. My experience moving to Phoenix in the middle of the summer is going to be much different than the experience that Flora had, than Marco had as well. So I really look forward to hearing everyone's stories and perspectives.
Thank you, Kristin. And Kristin, you mentioned a really important thing, that human connection and that networking. Don't let me forget, Sonal and Kristin, at the end, if those of you who may want to connect, I want to make sure that if you can get a hold of me, I'll put my email in the chat, and I can facilitate connection, or we can share our emails at the end. I want to make sure we have time for that. I do want to jump over now to we're going to go to Marco. Marco, if you could tell your why Arizona from your point of view.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and good morning to everybody here in the United States, and good evening or afternoon at everybody abroad. I was born and raised in Italy, in Milan, and the last things that I would ever imagine in my life was to actually move to United States and live in the United States, and certainly not getting married with a U.S. citizen. Well, everything happened, and it was all, happened very suddenly. And I met my wife here in the United States, in Arizona, after I came here, after I graduated at the law school in Italy. I decided to take a little vacation and visit a friend of mine in the Bay Area. And then before leaving, my grandma told me, well, why don't you go and pay a visit in Tucson, Arizona? And after I said, well, thank you, Grandma, after 25 years telling me that I have relatives in the United States, I definitely will. So long story short, I went to San Francisco and then spent 10 days in Tucson, where I met my wife. And sorry, I'm hearing some voices in the background. But then because I had to finish my internship in Italy before becoming an attorney over there, my wife decided to follow me. So we lived in Italy for about 5 years, and then we decided to relocate in Tucson in 2009. Why I love Arizona, why I love Tucson and Phoenix? Well, like I said, I was born and raised in Milan, which is like New York. It's a super chaotic city. It's raining, it's hot, it's difficult to find parking everywhere. And so when I came here and I discovered that I could actually park my car in front of a supermarket, that's great. And also I can't stand humidity. And so when, it's true what they say here, but it's a dry heat. It's a dry heat. As long as it's not humid, I don't care. So I can live in the heat as long as it's not humid and hear the weather is perfect to me. And oh my gosh, I remember the first winter I spent here, and I was in my t-shirt and my shirts, and I said, this is amazing. This is true paradise. And on another note, I would like to join Kristin in saying that what is very important for a foreigner to come to the United States is the first is connection. You need to be able to grow a network. And it's what I did when I first started here as an attorney. My only point of advantage was that I'm Italian. And so I started to basically knock every door to someone that has an Italian last name and try and build slowly, step by step, a connection with people that I could relate on. And the second one is very important. You need to understand the mentality. European mentality is different from the mentality here in the US. Of course, there's some grades from East Coast to West Coast, but it's a different way of thinking and it's a different way of acting. So it's really important to set aside your own mentality that you have from your home country that works over there, and really observe and learn how the mentality here, how can people used to relate with each other, and try to learn and absorb as much as possible, that because that will be very, very helpful for you to thrive here.
Marco, thank you so much for that. And I hope we have some time to talk a little bit about that mentality and about those cultural differences that we have. Diana was able to make it. So she is here with us now. So I'm just going to have her chime in whenever she wants. So it's going to be us two here. And Flora, I'm going to go to you now about that question. Why Arizona? We do need to kind of clip through to get to some of our other questions, but I want to make sure that you get some say here for that. So why Arizona for you, Flora?
Hello, Diana. Thank you, Diana, for joining. Diana is our Global Entrepreneurship Week of Arizona State Coordinator. So she has been the one behind all the events going on in Arizona. So thank you, Diana. I was listening to Kristin and Marco, and there are so many similarities between our stories. We don't come from the same background, not the same country, but we have so much in common. So I was born and raised in France. I traveled also as a young age, like Kristin. I made several trips as a high school student for linguistic exchanges. My difference is it was not in Spanish, it was in English for me. So I went to Scotland, to Malta, to England, to several, many different English-speaking countries. And it has been a surprise for me to land here in Arizona as well. I would have never thought that I would arrive in Arizona. So like for you, Marco and Kristin, this is a big surprise. And the reason behind it is that when I was working at the US Embassy in Paris, as at the ambassador's office, I met with this handsome US military guy who was working at the US Embassy too. We actually didn't meet at the US Embassy, but at the Italian residence, Marco. So we have some connections there. And when my husband, Aaron, decided to retire from the army last year, he wanted to come back to his home state of Arizona. And everybody was telling me, oh my gosh, what are you going to do in Arizona? Arizona is not international. You are specialized in international events. I have been working on events for the President of the United States, for the Secretary of State, on large events like the Paris Climate Agreement, and everybody was saying, why Arizona? And I was like, well, love has some answers that not everybody can explain, right? So I followed my husband, and I must say I have been really surprised upon arrival here. I'm not going to say it has been easy. I arrived last summer in the middle of a pandemic. I love the heat like you, Marco, so the heat has not been a problem. The problem was that I knew thousands of people in France. Public relations was my background, and I landed in Phoenix without knowing anybody. I started from zero. But I must say that the people here are super warm, are welcoming. I have found a large community, and many of you have become friends. So I totally recommend for the ones who want to start a new life, you can easily create a new network in Phoenix, in Arizona.
Flora, thank you so much for that. It's really interesting hearing these stories of these connections. Marco and Flora, you married into Arizona in a way, or you to the United States, and some through lines that I'm seeing here. I'm hearing a lot about networks. I'm hearing about different mentalities, and I want to admit this person here who just jumped in. Welcome. Someone just joined our group. I wanted to ask about, you mentioned why you personally come. Now, this is going to be more for Flora and for Marco. I want to start with Flora, and then we'll go to Marco, but you both have businesses here in Arizona. And I want to hear, just on a strictly business level, how has being in Arizona differed, and how has it been beneficial? Keeping in mind, folks in this audience might be thinking about coming to Arizona and starting businesses. So Flora, if you could give us that in about 2 minutes, and we'll jump over to Marco for about 2 minutes, okay?
Sure, thank you. So I created my LLC in the spring. So my business is really recent. And as I mentioned already, I'm really interested in international multicultural events projects. So I offer consulting services in event and project management, cross-cultural communication, protocol, which is etiquette, how to behave in an international setup, and organizational management, so how to better handle your multicultural team, how to build a strategic plan, do SWOT analysis, and all that fun stuff. What I would say about the challenges in Arizona and the opportunities, I would say opportunities, you have an international crowd here, you have many international organizations, but there are still ways of improvement. So that's a great if you want to come, if you want to build an international business or want to settle in Arizona from overseas. This Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the United States. It's also the fastest growing city in America. In 2020, and I'm going to take a few numbers from Greater Phoenix Economic Council, GPEC, our friends there, can share a few numbers that gives you a good idea of what's going on in Arizona. In 2020, $19.7 billion of goods were exported from Arizona. And this production supported more than 95,000 jobs. And it's still growing. Every day, every year, Arizona officials from the economic development receive inquiries from companies. Arizona and Phoenix has become really a hub in microprocessor, electric cars and trucks. Last week, I was involved with the Swedish American Chamber of Commerce Summit, their national summit. They had a delegation from Business Sweden coming here to see how and where they could settle their factory. That's reality. Phoenix is really becoming more and more global, and that's where you have a chance there to settle and be part of that. They said I will hand off to Marco.
Thank you. Yes, I join Flora in saying that Arizona presents a lot of opportunities to grow, because it's not as oversaturated like our neighbors in California, and there's a lot of space, and it really present great opportunities. Aside from the data that Flora mentioned, a lot of business owners from California are moving and relocated to Arizona. And the reason is simply stated. Taxes are lower than California, and the quality of life is very good, but it's not as expensive as California. And so when you planning to invest in the United States, you may want to consider that from an expenses point of view, where you have the opportunity to relocate your business, or you open your business at a relatively lower cost. And as I said, the taxes are lower, and also the cost of opening a company here are very, very low. Setting up an LLC or a corporation is extremely easy, and it takes a week or 10 days, and you actually have your company set with very, very low cost. We're talking about not even $100. And if you think that in California, if you want to open an LLC, you have to pay every year $900 to maintain the LLC in good standing in California. In Arizona, it's $0. You don't have to pay any annual fees. Corporations, you probably pay $45 a year to maintain the corporation in good standing. So there's really, really good opportunities here. And as I said, Phoenix is the 5th largest cities in the world, and is still growing. So the market is open for business, really.
Thank you so much, Marco and Flora, for those points of view. And Marco, thank you for getting a little into the details and the numbers a little bit. And Flora, thank you for the overview of the just general economic growth. And I can attest to that. I'm a transplant of 2 years. I've been here, and every time I drive by Phoenix to go home to visit family in California, it's like there are more cranes. There's more industry going on. It seems like there's just a lot of growth. And there is a lot of space. I'm here in northern Arizona, about a 2-hour drive from Phoenix, 2.5 hours. And I just wanted to note that it's a very wide open field here across the state. And there's a lot of variety too. I mean, I'm at 7,000 feet up in the mountains and it snows, and people come from Phoenix to ski here. And we're all still in Arizona. It's a very, very dynamic environment. Kristin, I wanted to pass it over to you with a similar question. From your point of view, working at Global Ties, if you could tell a little bit about what Global Ties does, and then talk a little bit too about this, the benefits of coming to Arizona from your unique point of view.
Sure, thanks so much. So for those of you that don't know Global Ties Arizona, and I know there are quite a few on the line that already do, some of our community partners, and I'm also, as I said, seen some of the alumni from our program, but we are a community-based member organization of Global Ties US, which is a network that was founded in 1961 under President Kennedy to implement the longstanding International Visitor Leadership Program, or as we call it, IVLP. IVLP is really our country's foundational professional exchange program, and really aims to foster diplomatic relations between the United States and countries around the world through professional exchange, through professional meetings, meeting our community members, and really creating long-standing relationships. Through this program specifically, the State Department brings in emerging leaders from all around the world to meet their counterparts specifically here in Arizona. And in the context of kind of Global Entrepreneurship Week, and why this is important, especially nowadays, this international exchange, this exchange of ideas globally, most of us on the line, most of us overall in our communities never would have thought that we would have experienced a global pandemic in our lifetime, for example. And for nearly 2 years, our economies, our communities our own livelihoods have really been put to the test. And we've seen how truly fundamental the need for broadband access is. Our eyes have been open to the inequities behind that type of access. We've seen strains placed on our global supply chain, the stress that we've seen placed on our workers across nearly all sectors and industries. And we've also seen how the pandemic has really changed the way that we work, the way that we want to work everywhere, I think, in the world. And we really need the brilliant entrepreneurial minds around the world to continue to innovate, to find solutions to these problems and demands, and really be able to shift, to be able to pivot as societal norms are shifting and demands are changing all around the world. And so what we are able to do at Global Ties is really connect global entrepreneurs with resources here in Arizona. And we, through the International Visitor Leadership Program over since May, we have implemented 18 programs with more than 140 delegates from 56 countries around the world. And 3 of these programs have specifically been around women and entrepreneurship. And some of those alumna are on the line with us today, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to share a little bit about their experience. But why this is important is the current global labor force participation rate for women is close to 49%. And for men, it's 75%, which is a difference of about 26%. And then some regions in the world facing an even larger gap of more than 50%, specifically in countries across Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East. And obviously the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted women's participation in the labor force even more, saying that women are even 24% more likely to permanently lose their jobs compared to men. So that said, in support of the U.S. Department of State's strategic goal of enhancing global economic development, these types of programs are really, really fundamental in illustrating the importance of connecting and collaborating across cultures in the space of entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Kristin, for that. Now we're getting some. I think it's kind of good to go into some questions here. I'm seeing some questions coming in the chat. Our chats are looking lively, so do jump in and be connecting on the chat. See, I see Flora connecting with someone there. Take advantage of that and connect. Now, Kristin, you mentioned that you have some of your alumni here who are working with you, and you mentioned resources. I would like to know, what are some resources that you see for entrepreneurs coming to the United States, or to Arizona specifically? And I'm keeping in mind Sam Sarkar's question. Sam is said, I'm a NAU's recent graduate with a PhD, and he's interested in opportunities for entrepreneurship in Arizona. So those resources with Sam's question in mind. And if alumni are here who can chime in, I would love to hear that as well.
Sure, thank you. And I will actually, as soon as I'm done speaking, I'm going to put a whole list of links into the chat for everyone. But one thing that I will share with you a little bit of the context around the types of resources or community resources that our global entrepreneurs meet with when they are here. For example, we've helped arrange meetings with the Arizona Commerce Authority, where they've learned about ACA Small Business Bootcamp and Resource Collective, Local First Arizona, understanding resources available to specifically Hispanic and Black entrepreneurs in the community to grow their businesses through programs like Fuerza Local and the We Rise program. We've also partnered with educational institutions like ASU's Thunderbird School of Global Management, and visitors have learned about their programs such as the Dream Builder program, which offers free online courses that teach skills and knowledge to start or grow a business. And then we also partner with organizations like Chicanos por la Causa and their Women's Business Center, which they actually just opened their brand new Women's Business Center in South Phoenix this past week. And they help women entrepreneurs through all aspects of starting a business, from the basics of financial literacy classes to legal considerations. And they also have a 6-week no-cost Latina Entrepreneur Academy to really help Latina women successfully run a business in Arizona. And so while these are not all specifically geared only to women, as I mentioned, ACA is also a great resource to all entrepreneurs. And then As Flora mentioned as well, Greater Phoenix Economic Council, you'll really want to check out their website, especially their industry analysis that really shares a little bit more about the cost of doing business in Arizona, the quality of life. And we do have colleagues here on the line, including our very own Bethany Bennick, who is really the person to talk to in terms of wanting to invest in Arizona. So I encourage you to take advantage of those folks that are on the line today. And Flora also did mention the Swedish American Chamber of Commerce conference that took place last week. And we do have Joachim J. Madison on the line today as well, that could very much share resources as well for Swedish companies that are looking to specifically come to Arizona. So lots of really great folks on the line today, and I thank you guys for being here. And like I said, I'm going to put those all into the chat. I think Sonal already beat me on some of them, but here's a full comprehensive list as well.
Thank you for getting those resources in the chat. This is great. Keep them coming, and keep the questions coming. Sam, thank you for the question. I wanted to give Diana just a moment here. All of you are participating. You're participating in Global Entrepreneurship Week, and we didn't really go too in depth into some of the resources and materials and ways that being part of Global Entrepreneurship Week beyond this this forum that we're in right now can benefit you as an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur. So Diana, I just want to give you some time to talk about the Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Thank you for that. So first, let me apologize for being a little bit tardy. I am a lumberjack. I haven't been on the campus in a while, and I got lost in the world of how much this campus has grown and changed, and seeing delivery robots around campus. And I was just fascinated and running into people that I knew when I was a student and also running the bookstore. So I apologize, but I have to say it was a blast to come back home. Thank you so much for joining this program. Global Entrepreneurship Week is really, really big for us in Arizona. It's one of the ways we can show the world that we are not a flyover state, that we do have a lot of resources for entrepreneurs if they choose to settle here. And one of the best things about it is that you have a balance of having a strong ecosystem for your business, but also having quality of life that I don't think a lot of other states can tout. It's one of the reasons why I love living in this state. And there are several resources out there for you. One of the things that I want to mention about Global Entrepreneurship Network is it truly is an organization that's a network for all entities that are a part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. You can go to gen.org and create an account. It is free, and it gives you access to not just all of the other players that are in Gen in the US, but also across the globe. Really great way to make friends and partners. I have heard of many collaborations. Even, they start with connecting and talking about what each other is doing to help their ecosystems. And then it turns into, well, let's collaborate and do an event for Global Entrepreneurship Week. So all of those things can happen. And I also want to talk about some local resources that we've mentioned, so many great local resources. Incubators are a really good one. We have an amazing incubator accelerator up in Flagstaff called Moonshot at Mayset. I run an incubator down in the city of Chandler. We also have the small business development centers. So for those who are viewing that may not be aware, small business development centers, or SBDCs, which is their acronym, they are all across the country. There's one in every city, just about. There's an office in Flagstaff, there's an office down in Maricopa, and their sole responsibility, they get funding from the Small Business Administration, and then they get funding from partners that they make locally to provide services for entrepreneurs and business owners for free at no cost. And if you are thinking about starting a business, you can always turn to the SBDC. They have an amazing lineup of subject matter experts that can take you through filing for your business license, becoming an LLC, figuring out what your budget is going to look like, all of the things that are involved with starting a business. And you have a champion that you can meet with as often as you feel you need to get you up and running. We mentioned the chambers. We've got a lot of international chambers that can help, but also it's also good to join the local chambers as well. If you have a city chamber, it's beneficial. One, you get to know the people that are in that neighborhood, that area. You get to, if you're international and you want to come to the US and start a business, you get to talk to American founders, and you get to kind of figure out the dynamics of what that looks like. It's a little bit of a crash course and lesson in, this is how business is done in America. And then you can take the good and the bad and the ugly from that and make it work for you, right? So there are so many different resources. If you want to go to, I believe it's sbdc.com or .org.
Let's check that and get that link if
Yes.
you can't, Sonal or Kristin.
Yes, and the SBA. A lot of people, when they're thinking about starting a business, they don't think that the Small Business Administration is going to be a good help. Small Business Administration website has a ton of information. They also have a business plan template, all free, all free. So these are things that you can look at and start kind of experimenting and exploring your idea before you invest money in this venture. So I would highly recommend using those resources. And as I said, everybody's journey is different. When you give birth to a business, right, it's your baby. Everybody parents their baby differently. Everybody's pregnancy is different. And so take all of this information that you gather and use what works for you. And I think that's kind of the best advice that I can give.
Thank you so much, Diana. I appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate that. I wanted to just remember that when Flora and Kristin and Marco and now Diana have been talking, they've mentioned networking. I'm hearing that word network and getting embedded in a community several times. It's kind of a through line through this conversation. So please take advantage of these opportunities to network. The way you quickly grow that network and build your, that capital, I'm not talking dollars capital, I'm talking that social capital that you build as an entrepreneur or as a startup or as a business coming to Arizona is going to be gold for you. And these resources that we're putting up here, getting involved in this entrepreneurship network or the local chamber or your country's chamber representatives here, these are going to help you quickly get embedded and get that capital built so you can start your business or start growing your business here. And there are amazing resources to do that. So we still have some time. I wanted to make sure that I have some questions here and some thoughts, but I wanted to hear from you who are in the audience today. Please, you can unmute if you'd like and let us hear your question, or you can put it in the chat if you feel more comfortable that way.
If I can just chime in quickly, just to underline the fact that our friend Bethany has been sharing a lot of very interesting resources also in the chat. The first one is about the differences between investing in California and Arizona. So it's a good way for you to get actual measures and finances and numbers. And she also shared for that they have at GPEC the Global Growth Accelerator, which is an opportunity for international startups, scale-ups to have a soft landing space and support networking market. The link is in the chat, so I would encourage you all to look at that. And if I may, I would like to hear a bit more, ask a question to Marco, because when we are international, when we come from a different country, the tricky question is always immigration and visa. So I was wondering if Marco could tell us a bit more about how to get a visa if you are an entrepreneur and you want to settle in the States, but you are not necessarily from the States? What are the options there?
Sure. Well, the good news is that you don't necessarily need a visa if you want to run and operate a business in the US. Your presence is not necessary here. I assist many companies where basically they just have an office here and everything is done remotely substantially. But if you want to invest in the United States and live in the United States, there are several options for you to come here. The first one is to obtain a so-called B1 visa. It's a visa for business purposes. It doesn't allow you to work in the United States, but it does allow you to stay here for at least 6 months during a year. And you can use it to meet with clients, attend meetings, and basically do all the your due diligence in preparation for starting your business. So it allows you to stay here a significant amount of time, to take care of your business. And then if you want to invest here and live here, the most common visa is so-called the E2 visa. It's the visa for investment purposes, and it requires, of course, to have a business here, which is very easy to set up, and to do minimum investment in the startup of your company. Now, although there's no minimal amount to invest, it's important to keep in consideration that your investment needs to be substantial and not speculative. So in other words, it needs to be tailored to the type of business that you are planning to do. I always make this scholastic example. If you want to open 100-seat restaurants in Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and you only have $20,000 to start up the business, well, even though at the U.S. Embassy, when the visa will be processed, don't know anything about the business, it's self-explanatory that there's no way that you can start a business of that caliber with only $20,000. So everything has to be read in proportion. Of course, the rule of thumb is the more you spend, the more you invest, the more likely you will get the visa. But it's all need to be tailored to your needs. And I have this example. I assisted a client who wanted to open up a business in Florida. Basically wanted to sell pictures of Ferrari because his father was the official photographer of Ferrari, and that's all he wanted to do. He said, "Oh, just I need an office and put my computer there." And I says, "Well, that's the winning ticket for you to get rejected for a visa, because you can do your business, that type of business, from your own house. You don't have to come to the United States. You have to open a physical business." So I helped him and I says, "Look, you're a photographer. Open up, a store when you sell photography, and and aside you make your services." And I says, "Okay." We put up a business plan, and then I said, "Okay, everything you put in the business plan, you need to show that you have invested it." And then when I got the business plan and when I got the money that he actually invested, it didn't match. And I said, "Look, you're gonna go for a failure because they want to see that you invested it." "Oh, right now, let's try because I don't want to invest that much." Says, "Okay, try." But long story short, his visa was rejected. And I says, "You need to put more money in there, or at least you need to show that you have spent for exactly what you have budgeted." So we did, and he got the visa. So it's important that you follow the rules. And as I was looking at the question in a chat if there's a minimum amount for investment. As I said, no, there's no minimum amount. But like I said, it has to be substantiated according to the business you're going to open. The UCIS has guidelines, and then basically it says if you invest a minimum of $100,000, we're not going to question you. So the rule of thumb is if you invest a minimum of $100,000, when you go for an interview, they're going to ask you very, very limited questions about the nature of investment. If you invest something less than $100,000, they're going to question you about the nature of your investment. Another quick example, I assisted a family from Rome and opened up a restaurant in Phoenix in Huacachuca Valley. They bought the business for $115,000. We showed the check at the embassy. Not a single question about the investment. They asked him about their personal life and some other minor questions, but there was no question about investment. So if you wanted to pursue that route, which is very actually convenient to obtain a visa, consult with a lawyer. I can definitely help you, but I'm not here to basically sell myself. But consult with an attorney that can give you the right guidance.
Thank you, Marco, for that.
Hey, Curtis, I just wanted to piggyback real quick on Marco as we were talking about visas, because I saw that Sam had a question in the chat regarding especially opportunities for students in the area of like entrepreneurship. So Sam, I'm answering this specifically because I used to work at NAU with the international students. So I can at least tell you where to go there. I would highly encourage you to set up an appointment with ISSS at the Center for International Education and talk to them, if you haven't already, about optional practical training first. You can get in a visa with OPT. I put in again another USCIS link in the chat. But as a graduated student, a recent graduate, probably your first best bet is going to go the route of OPT and see what options you have through that. And then, of course, Marco gave some great advice in terms of business visas from there.
Thank you so much, Chris. We are coming up on our hour. This is, I know we could go for 2, but I'm sure we have other commitments, and I know that there are some students, and we're all very busy. What I want to make sure is that that you're connecting through the chat. If you've been sitting here and you're wanting to connect with Flora or Marco or Kristin or Diana or myself, be sure to put that in the chat. Now, Kristin and Sonal, I know you probably know this, but you can, afterward, you can save, you'll get the chat file afterward with the video file because we're recording this. So we have that chat. Let's just make sure we keep that on record. And if someone wants to get access or to any of these resources, we can pull those out of the chat and send them afterward. So let's, Kristin, you got something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say we'll be happy to kind of compile maybe a nice PDF of all of the resources that we've listed, and we'll go ahead and also post that somewhere on the website. We can follow up with an email to everyone that was on the line today with those resources.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kristin. Thanks, Jennifer, for that, for chiming in the chat. And thank you everyone for being here today. Again, this is part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week program. This is just one of the many resources that we have for you. I just want to check over my notes to make sure I didn't omit anything.
Can I ask just if we can do a picture before everybody goes back to his or her occupations?
Absolutely. Can we go to tile view? Is there a way to see us all? Kristin, can you do that?
Yes, let's go ahead and take off. I have to remove spotlights real quick. And we'll go to, if you can help me remove some spotlighting, Sonal. And then we'll go to, can everyone see gallery or is it just me?
It's just you.
Oh, gee.
You have to go up there and select gallery.
Yes, I did on mine. I'm just not sure if it's
Oh.
showing for everyone. So, well, I can see everyone. I can see everyone. So let me go ahead and take a picture real quick. So hello, it's good to see your faces. All right, at the count of 3, we'll do 1, 2, 3. We'll do one more. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you so much, Kristin. All right, I'm going to drop my contact here if you want to get a hold of me. Thanks again, everyone, for coming to this session. We do have it recorded. We do have these resources. If you want to get in touch, please do get in touch. Diana, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you made it across campus and found us. And thank you again, Marco, Flora, and Kristin. It was a pleasure, and everyone in the room. What a fantastic opportunity. Thanks for being here and taking advantage of this resource. And I hope to see you in Arizona. Thanks again. I'll turn it back over to Kristin, and we'll wrap it up.
Oh, okay. I get the last word.
You've got. I guess the way we'll wrap it up here is we can make that a wrap if anyone wants to hang out with what we're gonna. Kristin, you have the power to close down the session because you're
absolutely. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.